So let's take a deep breath in this morning, because each of you, all of us, we create spiritual community. The power of spiritual community. The power of spiritual community goes beyond individuals, and it is a way of living life. To live life in a spiritual community is to live a life of service. I was just on a nature trail the other day with my little one on a celebration of spring nature hike. And as we were hiking, we're observing nature all around us and chatting with people as they go by. And this one woman who was biking gave us an enthusiastic greeting as we were walking by her, and she was biking, and she said, "Happy spring." And it's like almost like she sprung from her bike to say it, like her like love beams just trickled from her body as she flung to us this dynamic greeting. And we just smiled, and it was just so nice. And I thought to myself, what a beautiful person. And whenever things like that happen, I just say in my heart, I just get real quiet, and I just kind of do this little burst, and I just say, "I love you. Thank you." And then I looked at my little G and I said, we love her. And I kind of started talking about why, like what that woman was doing, what an impact that just made, and how that's a friend we haven't met yet, but she is part of our lives, and how nice that was. And then a little bit later on our hike, we were at the creek, and we were just tumbling around at the creek, and quite up above was the trail. And a couple of gentlemen were leaving with their family, and they're walking up above, and all I can hear is something water. And I say, yes. I thought he said, "Are you guys getting in the water?" And yes, we did get in the water without any attire to get in the water. And yes, it was freezing water. And yes, someone liked it very much anyway and got her entire outfit soaking wet in freezing cold water. And so we're sitting there playing by the creek, and he lifts up this water bottle and starts to toss it to me. And I said, oh, no, thank you. No, thank you, though. I thought you said, "Are we getting in the water?" And he was saying, "Would you like a water?" Random, beautiful man on the hiking trail stopping. And I'm telling you, I mean, it was a throw. Had he thrown that water to us without the understanding of my level and ability to play sports, because that is a sport if you're me, having a water bottle thrown from quite far away on a trail and trying to catch it is a sport. I one time had a Frisbee. I had my hands up as high as I could. I was reaching so high, and the Frisbee went right here, right on my forehead. But I thought to myself, what a kind person, how thoughtful. And those two experiences on the trail made my day. They made my moment, and they modeled what love is, what community is, what communication is, what reaching out is to my little one. Friendliness and initiating conversation makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? We create for others when we do that. I think of spiritual community like that biker and like the man that offered the water. That's how I think about spiritual community. We take a moment that could be estranged. We take a stranger and we bring them in as a friend. There is a ripple effect that happens when we show up in a way with a deep intention to connect and to create kindness and joy and love and community, because no doubt that's creating community. You know, there are studies that look into depression, and they look into cities and how the happiness factor is working in different areas of the country. And they know that when you put people together, when you take out the roads and you put in pathways and walkways where people can pass each other, where organic conversations can happen, they know that the level of depression begins to lift, and the level of satisfaction begins to rise. I think of spiritual community like that biker and like that water bottle man, because it makes ordinary moments more extraordinary. It makes ordinary moments more extraordinary. And there is a craving, is there not, in our world today, and even in our own lives, for more community and more connection. Not superficial, authentic, and real, but more. We are at a turning point culturally in our world, where we are either going to step up and create more community and create more connections, or we are going to continually increase our isolation and our separateness. Now, in Unity, we teach that we create our lives. It's ordinary to think that we are a recipient of our lives, that life just happens and you are a recipient of the life you are given. But in Unity, we know our principle and our practice is that we create our lives, we create our world, we create harmony in it, we create unity in it, we create love in it. It is ours to do, that we don't just receive this life, we create it. Do you know that in the studies, and I've quoted this study before, but in the studies, there's a study that talks about rats and addiction. And so they go through testing the rats for addiction, and I believe it's heroin that they use. And the rats, you know, they put heroin in a water bottle or something like that. I don't know how they get the rats heroin, honestly, but I think it's in a water bottle because they get to choose it, right? And so they put it in the water bottle and they get addicted to it. But they notice that when the rats are isolated, that's what they go to. And they become addicted, and they even go to the point of taking themselves out through the addiction. But if the rats have the choice of the addictive substance or community, they choose community every time. They pass by the addictive substance. They pass by what sedates them. They pass by what gets them high and the simple things that take them out of the experience, and they go to connection. They go to community. We have no idea how many people are longing for and wanting connection that may not even initiate it for some reason or another. Hear that second point, that may not initiate it for some reason or another. Trust me, I have seen in community a lot of misunderstandings around how people show up and whether or not they want connections. I have seen people think someone is impersonable and realize later that they were just introverted or shy or quiet or contemplative. And when they took the steps to reach out, they found a world there that they wouldn't trade for anything. But at first sight, they thought someone was snobbish or impersonal without delving deeper, without taking accountability to create. So if we just receive what our picture, what our mind has, or what someone else projects on the outside without diving in, we can often misunderstand the spiritual opportunity for connection, for growth, and for creation. And that's what we're here to do, isn't it? We're here to create. I have seen people that have the appearance of being angry, but really what they need is love. I have seen the superficial being really a call for substance and depth. I've seen aloof, the energy of being aloof and not caring. It's just really a call for needing to be grounded. I've seen people that are isolated, that are just deeply, deeply, deeply desiring community and connection. When I was in college, I found Unity of Boulder in Colorado. That was my first Unity center that I was ever a part of, and the one that I went to for the longest time. And the interesting thing about that, I was in college, and it's not on campus, it's off campus. And I would go, and I kept going over and over, and I really wanted to connect. I entered college with a deep not almost painful. I can just think of my girlfriends there going, that wasn't almost painful, that was treacherous. But a longing in my soul, like a dark hole, a dark night of the soul experience of needing to feel my wholeness, which was what the truth of it was, but it outpictured as really wanting to connect, trying to find my tribe, trying desperately to find my people, to find my tribe, to find friendships. And often it was sitting right in front of me and I missed it. But one of my experiences was going to Unity of Boulder. And I went and I tried to connect in the ways that I knew how, and I never really formed any deep connections there. I never really formed any friendships. And it's not just that there weren't people my age there. There were some people my age there. And I have always had friends that were far beyond my age and had connections that are ageless. So the age doesn't matter and never has mattered to me. But for some reason there, I didn't create connection. And I still don't know exactly what it's about. It could be that all centers are different and some have, you know, a more of an energy around community and fellowship and connection. And it could have been me at the time. But I went and I got the message, and that was more than enough for me because the message was powerful and it changed and transformed my life. But I share this story because I went and I served. I remember seeing the clipboard come around to stuff bulletins, and I remember thinking that might be a good place to talk to people and to connect and to make some friends. I took a year-long course in miracles group. I served at the youth and family ministry as a kindergarten teacher. I joined the choir for a little bit, but none of those things led to a deep personal connection. Now, mind you, I had what I would now call moderate to serious anxiety around sticking around for fellowship and chit chat. So I was an in the door, out the door person. If there was a smaller group, if there was a way to connect, like these different ways to serve, I could do that. But I was in the door, out the door, like to stand in the middle of that room. And I would have been one of the people that would stand there and just watch, and no one would come over to me, and I would kind of freak out and probably go. Or if too many people did come to me, I might freak out and just go. Is anyone feeling themselves here? Anyone on that page, on that wavelength? It takes strength for people that have an introverted social side to connect in group gatherings, does it not? So for whatever reason, I didn't make those connections in that way. And then when I came to ministerial school, I met CommUnity. And that was the first taste that I got of how incredible community can be and what unity looks like when it outpictures as connected, authentic, vulnerable, and powerful community. And those connections, whether they are currently active or whether they're active in my heart and my mind, still serve me deeply today. And then I went to the Unity of Montclair, and at Unity of Montclair, I realized a whole nother level of community, of people being in each other's lives and supporting each other and creating life together. And here at UVC, we have an unbelievable community of people involved in each other's lives and people serving, people coming together, people connecting and loving each other. And still there's room to grow, isn't there? Still there's more room to connect, to find out how to take everyone's experience and to turn it inside out so that our heart as a community is a wide open invitation to connect, a deep invitation to come together in any and every way that we can to support each other in this lifetime, right here and right now. So if you know how to connect, if you know how, teach others. If you know how, teach others. I can't even imagine if I had now and knew now the type of connection, support, and community back then. How that would have changed my life. Because the principles are one thing. The message is another thing. But the Trinity is completed when you have full spiritual community. So if you know how, teach others, do it out loud so we can all learn. And remember that it's a spiritual gift. It is a spiritual gift to know how to connect others. It is a spiritual gift to be a presence that makes other people comfortable. It is a spiritual gift to be a presence that nurtures others. It is a spiritual gift to be a presence that cooks for others, that gives, to be a presence that emotionally connects others and with them. It's a spiritual gift to be a presence that shares deeply, authentically, and vulnerably. It is a spiritual gift even simply to notice others, to notice them, to show them that they're seen in whatever way that you do, whether it's a click on social media, a message that you shoot off, a like button, a phone call, a greeting, a private chat. It's a spiritual gift. So whatever your spiritual gift is in community, whatever they are, bring them because we need them. Model them. Teach others, invite others, help others. You never know the impact you make. You never know. You never know the impact you have on others or the impact you have on your spiritual community. And you never know how it will come back to you in your life or what your life would be if you never had spiritual practice and spiritual community. So I invite you just to think for a moment, just think for one moment about the impact that this spiritual community has on your life. It doesn't matter if this is your first moment showing up or if you've been here for 10, 20, 30 years. Think for a moment on what your life would be without this, on what a difference it makes, on how it has shifted and shaped and impacted how you live your life, how your week feels, how your day-to-day experience of being on this planet feels, how connected you feel compared to how isolated. And if you would, share it on the chat group. If you're in Zoom, share it on the comments. If you're on Facebook, how has this impacted your life? Whether it's someone else in the community, whether it's the message, the Sunday messages, whether it's the music, whether it's the unity principles. I like to say about spiritual community that it's like God camp, that we create camp. It's like our adult camp, right? Like kids go to camp in the summer and they get to like activate all those parts of themselves. Like they get to break out of all of the paradigms of structure and play. They get to explore new things. They get to stretch. They get to grow. They get to be with each other. They get to feel what it's like to create a chosen family. They get to experience that. And that, friends, is what spiritual community is like for adults. So think for a moment what your life would be like if you didn't have it, and what impact, what value you give to spiritual community. we can see in this current time how incredibly valuable it is to come together for a spiritual practice, to navigate changing times with a community dedicated to mindfulness and awareness and principles. Think of that gift you've given yourself. Being in spiritual community is living a life of sacred service. Regardless of your own personal level of service within that community, being in spiritual community is living a life of service, because your presence and your contributions make others' lives better. Your contributions serve. Your contributions create. Your presence makes a difference. You create. So by coming together each week in this spiritual community, you put your energy, you put your authenticity, you put your vulnerability, you put your life into this beautiful space where together we unfold. Where together we dive into and sift through principles, and then we pull them out and we apply them to ourselves personally, and we live a better life. We live a more conscious life. We live a life that is more supported than we would if we didn't make this choice. And by everyone choosing to be here, by what you give, by showing up and by giving financially simply to create this, you choose that your life is not just about you. And you choose to give, whether or not you're aware of it. You make a drastic and dramatic choice about your time on this planet. And that choice is that my life will not be just about serving me. It will be about creating a space for connection, healing, love, and God for others. So when we look at just receiving our lives and going, this is life, it's given to me. Or we look at creating our lives, going, how can I create this life? There's something else that's in the middle of those two things. Co-creating is the mystical blend of receiving this life and creating this life. It is the divine dance. And when we share our gifts, when we circulate, when we create like this, it has the appearance of being self-serving. I think that in the beginning, like when I went to Unity of Boulder, I am going for me. I am hands down. I'm a hot mess. I need help and support. I'm going back to one of the things that I knew nourished me, which was church in some way, but I was Catholic, before that, and I knew that wasn't fitting for me anymore. So I went for something that was fully about me. And I breathed it in, I soaked it in like a sponge. I took it and I applied it to my life, and I transformed my life. I upgraded my consciousness. And that whole time that I thought it was about me getting, it was also about me giving. Not because I was consciously creating, but because there is God, the grand overall design. We are co-creators. So in moments you're not even aware, you are co-creating good. You are co-creating in the spirit of grace and giving to others. That is something huge to feel if you can get yourself in touch with really feeling the magnitude of it. We are all connected. And when we take these steps to consciously connect and to create in community, it has a ripple effect. It goes far beyond each one of us as individuals. And you are responsible for that. For people you don't even know. For people you don't even know. You're the reason that someone in hospice has beautiful, amazing people coming into their home each day to take care of them. You're the reason why people make meals for each other and deliver them door to door. You're a reason for the phone calls people get that meet them in moments that would bring someone to their knees. You're the reason. You're the reason someone just scrolls by a screen and sees a message that changes their lives. You're the reason. And you're the reason in the midst of possibly thinking you're just getting something for yourself. Now that's co-creation. That's the divine at work. That's pure magnificence at work. Pure magnificence is that I can be in the illusion of thinking I am feeding myself and I am generating a meal for others. Breathe into that. Every time you feed yourself in spiritual community, you are generating a meal for others. And that is true with the spiritual practice on so many levels. Because when you do your work, when I do my work, yes, it benefits my life, but it gives beyond me. It gives beyond you. It gives to our greater community, to our world, to our culture. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, make the most of yourself, for that is all there is of you. So if you know how to reach out and bring people in, do that. If you are the space, your consciousness is the space where people show up, where people share, where people connect, be that consciousness. And if you're like I was when I was at Unity of Boulder, keep stretching, keep looking, stay open, be willing. How do you get there? How do you get it? You get it by showing up. And you have, especially this year, we've shown up. Sir Winston Churchill said, do what is required. It's not enough that we do our best. Sometimes we must do what is required. Anyone wanting to run yet? It's not enough that we do our best. Sometimes we must do what is required. We get to that knowing of what that is when we get into our spiritual truth, our wisdom. It's not always something that comes from the mind. Our strengths lie in what is ours to do and following what is ours to do, giving what is ours to do. So let's take a deep breath together and ask this question. Is there any part of accountability where we give ourselves an exemption? Is there any area where we go, other people are doing that part, so I don't need to do it? Other people are serving, so I don't need to serve. Other people are financially contributing, so I don't need to financially contribute. Other people are giving of their time, talent, treasure, so I don't need to. Is there any place where there is an exemption in accountability I give to myself? For my life as an individual, for our families, for ourselves as citizens, for our world. Are we giving ourselves any exemptions? to say, well, I do this, but that's not mine to do. Because our lives, our families, our community, our country, our world will be made infinitely better when we mindfully look at those exemptions we give ourselves. And we recognize in spiritual principle that it's for each of us to be an inlet and an outlet of all that is God, and to circulate our energy as far as our time, our talent, and our treasure in conscious and mindful ways. So what is your upgrade today? What is mine? What is a way and a place and a space where I could have an impact that I am not currently having it? Where I could make a difference, but instead I'm not there. Where I have something to give, whether it's a prayer, whether it's showing up, whether it's contributing in another way, whether it's to your own life, in your family's life, in your greater community's life, your spiritual community's life, your country's life, your world's life. Your presence makes a difference. Is it going to be static? I was just recently on an AG&T Speaks with Reverend Michelle Medrano from Mile High, and she shared this concept from Deepak Chopra, that Deepak Chopra said, we're all part of the whole of God. We're all part of it. We're like cells in God. Are we going to be a cancer cell, or are we going to be a healthy cell? What kind of cell are we in the mind of God? And I thought that was a powerful illustration. It's like the option of whether or not we're having an impact is irrelevant. We are having an impact. And sometimes just the impact of taking a little step makes a difference. So maybe as far as this spiritual community, raise your hand if you love it and you value it and it means something to you. Yeah? Okay, then our principles are looking at our time, our talent, and our treasure. So our time, are we showing up? Are we holding this community in prayer? Are we serving in some way? And maybe you're thinking, well, I can't serve in this way or that way, but can you hold in consciousness? Can you go to the prayer wall and hold the prayer requests in light? Can you bless the people you see in this spiritual community, even virtually? Can you bless the message we get each Sunday morning saying, let it be what we all need to hear? Our time, our talent. Can we circulate our gifts? It doesn't have to be doing something major. Circulating our gifts means reaching out to each other. If you see someone's going through a hard time, reach out. Make connections. Create community. And circulating our treasure. Are we giving something financially? Some people can give a lot, and some people have a spiritual practice around tithing, and it's important to them that their lives contribute to something in a significant way, to connecting to what they see as spiritual nourishment, and to really strongly and powerfully co-creating it. And some people don't have that passion, but is there something that's yours to give? Do you value this spiritual community as much as a drive-through every week, or a coffee, or a bottle of wine? Do you value it enough to say, my energy in this way is going to be there, and I'm going to be accountable for that? And looking at those three ways that we give, and looking and saying, is there an imbalance? Are there any places where I'm going, I'm exempt from that? And instead taking a deep breath and seeing how our lives will transform when our commitment transforms. Patrick Lindsay, the author of Make the Most of You, said this, and these are the keys for today. The first is this: add value. Add value in the way that you can and in the ways that you can. If you know there's another way you contribute where you're holding back, step into it or expand it. She said, or he said, always strive to leave things better than you found them. Make this a central approach, a central theme in your approach to life. It will set you apart from those who are satisfied with the status quo, from those who surf along with the crowd, and from those who lack the imagination to aim for greatness. Always strive to leave things better than you found them. Make this a central theme in your approach to life. Isn't that beautiful? The woman on the bike, I mean, look how easy that was. And you know what? She left that trail better than she found it. She did. She did. And in fact, she didn't just give it to me, did she? She didn't just give it to me. She just gave it to all of us. Wouldn't that be funny if she was a live streamer? Patrick shares this quote from Anne Frank saying how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. That's the first key, add value. The second key is become a conduit. Become a conduit. He says, be a connector, but be a discerning connector. Add meaning to your connections. The more you help others, the more you will benefit yourself. Avoid the hyper connectivity of mindless social networking. Instead, prefer intelligent, selective, mutual, beneficial links. Sharing the quote by William Shakespeare, listen to many, speak to a few. And he shares this: make your presence felt. Make your presence felt. Now that might at first draw some of us back. Maybe we don't want to be seen or known. You don't always have to be seen and known to be felt. There are a lot of silent workers out there that are doing a great amount of consciousness work and prayer work. But maybe we can each step into it and expand just a little bit in making our presence felt. He said, you get only one chance in this life. It makes no sense then to simply disappear into the crowd. They do respect your existence. Acknowledge those who help to form you. Isolate the things that are precious to you. Stand up for them. Live them. Gandhi said, to believe in something and not to live it is dishonest. So can we remember these words of Anne Frank? How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Namaste.